I'm still mentoring, but
So that's the first time I heard that's the next step.
no, I also will do that. All right, we continue on. So last week we dealt with the interesting story of the Garden of Eden, Gan Eden, with the creation of Adam, and the creation of Chava, the eating of the Eitz Hadas Tov Hara, the tree of good and evil, and the subsequent decline of that sin as it expressed itself through a number of generations. This is what we covered last week. So let's say, if somebody had to crystallize that, what was really the essential sin?
That's an ego, right?
Okay, so
Talk about whether they named the city after.
Yeah, that was that. One of Hanoch named the city after his son. Correct. So.
And you said she had sex with God.
She was partner. She acquired a man with God. Right.
There's more. I guess it's like shifting, your purpose in life from achieving like spirituality at a higher level to like a material thing. It's more material desires and like.
That was a consequence, but the main focus is that their seeking was they became status seeking, to put it very simply, which is ego, power seeking, which is these are all synonyms for the same thing, and therefore they used their formidable gifts, one of them being their intellect, at Tselem Elohim, for making that happen. Or you can use your mind in a lot of different ways. So Adam and Chava then were focused on not perceiving the beauty of the universe and God's creation, but rather maximizing their power and pleasure. And that describes humanity today, by and large. And we saw how that expressed itself through the multiple generations.
Why was it? I get the pleasure part, but
yes.
Power
is a pleasure.
How do we know they were after power?
Well, because it says that the Nachash, the serpent, said to them, "V'yisem kelohim yodei Torah," and you'll be as lords, sovereigns, knowers of good and evil. He seduced them. That was obviously a latent interest, because else, if there's not an interest at all, then there's something you can bring to the fore. So it was a latent interest to be, to be a sovereign. You know what I mean? Or but then the question that Jezebel aren't they? Well, there's only people there. So what do you mean to be a sovereign over what? It's the satisfaction of being a sovereign, what you call in modern day terms the power rush. For example, people who do real estate or any kind of deals, there's a satisfaction of closing the deal. There's a ABC always be closing, all right? Glenn Gary, Glenn Rock. Okay, all right. That's a great movie, by the way. It's a Ray Rosenthal. Brent, Netflix it up, guys. Anyways, of course, after you do your homework, I imply that was obviously the case. Anyways, so I did not send homework. I'm not going to be hitting you with homework every single week. So to shrink it down, and I'm going to bring it back to the Siddur here. So basically, we learned the second and third chapter of Bereshit to understand Adam and Chava, what their ideal state was, which was in the garden, where they were pursuing naming the animals, appreciating God's wisdom, starting to develop an intelligent civilization, and then they're being seduced and absorbed into desiring to be sovereigns, and therefore, where their focus become status seeking, using their formidable gifts for pleasure and power. And we see how that throughout the 11 chapters of Genesis, you see the subsequent generation being absorbed with that whole sin. Okay, so where does that leave us, and why is it relevant to the Siddur? If a person's in that mentality, and we're of the civilization, what is our natural state of affairs about seeing the world?
Very self-absorbed.
Right. So therefore we see the world limited through our prism and our most immediate needs and our immediate agenda. Yeah. So that's it. That is the totality of reality. So therefore, the Hebrew word to be forgetful or distracted is to be shocheach, to be shachachti, I forgot. So man is in essentially a state of shichacha, forgetfulness. No, not forget, not forget, but in other words, distracted from the big picture. Would be so basically, this sitter that you guys all have is really designed to, on a daily basis, to at least for a moment, to pull a person out of their self-absorbed anti-kavana state, powerful shichcha state, right? And to be zocher, to recall, that which is real. Okay, that's basically it. I'll stop right there. Is that clear? Because you see, and we see it ourselves. In other words, we have Rosh Hashanah and Kippur once a year because to allow us to see the big picture in an intense way, just once a year. And then a little time, on a little bit on a daily basis, daily davening, and then of course Shabbos plays a more central role in the holidays. And that's basically it. Try to deal with man where man is at. And man is in a state of distractedness, to be shocher. So is that clear? And you see how that falls from Bereshis? Okay? And we're prone, and part of our shichas, we're involved in fantasy, involved in all kinds of unrealistic things that we're a self-sufficient sovereign in the universe. We can do everything ourselves. We don't need anybody. We're the source of our own success. We're all kinds of awesome. Okay? Now, we could be awesome, but not as far as a delusional sense of who's running the universe. You know what I'm saying? That's what the sitter and other things are trying to pull the person out of. So let's begin from the beginning of the Pesukei Zimra, the verses of praise, which is Baruch Shamar. We say this every day. We always, this is part of the MG davening. Let's see if I have the exact. Let's see if this one I have is the same as yours. Or the Koren Sidur. Do you have? Is it 63 by you?
Yeah, 63.
63 or 62 in the English. Okay, so let's take a look at it. Who'd like to read out loud? Justin, make it happen, my friend.
All right. Blessed is he who spoke and the world came into being. Blessed is he.
Okay, boom. So my question is, why do I need to? If this is a fact, so we just said, why do I have to bring this up? Why do I have to say this and think about this?
To remind yourself every day.
Yeah, that this is the real world we live in, and not the limited thing of our little daily life. Yes.
Let's say recommended.
Yes.
Is this the first thing we're doing? Or are we just going out of order?
So it's interesting. So MG does. So there's what they call the we're gonna circle back. The first thing a person does is the blessings in the morning. They're done. They're done at the beginning.
Okay.
Many people do them at home, and then they were communal davening at Baruch Shamar. Okay.
This is on Shabbat.
Well, it's the same thing as every day. Shabbat or every day. Baruch Shamar is part of the daily service also. Okay. The Pesukei Zimra, the verses of praise of David, is going to be Baruch Shamar Ashrei, which everybody knows the Ashrei, or we'll get into that, and Yishtabach. If you don't know it, don't worry about it. So we're going to do the opener blessing is the Baruch Shamar. So let's go. So we automatically think about God, and blessed is he who spoke and the world came into being. Blessed is he. Go on.
Blessed is he who created the universe. Blessed is he who speaks.
Well, notice it's in the present tense. Who creates the universe. We mentioned that last time, that basically, since we're maintaining that God's will is constantly required for the universe, it's sort of in a state of, as it were, constantly making it, in a certain sense, or maintaining it. Go on.
Blessed is he who speaks and acts. Blessed is he who decrees and fulfills. Blessed is he who shows compassion to the earth. Blessed is he who shows compassion to all creatures. Blessed is he who gives a good reward to those who fear him. Blessed is he who lives forever and exists to eternity. Blessed is he who redeems and saves. Blessed is his name.
Okay, so this is sort of the intro part, and then there's the actual blessing part. Let's just take a peek at this little slowly here. Okay, so what's the so we talk about. So it's going for the most general. He spoke and the universe came, speaks and he acts, decrees and fulfills. And then he says, shows compassion to the earth and compassion to all creatures. What is that referring to? And we're in our studies of Bereshis Aleph, Beis, and Gimel, 1, 2, and 3. What Well, how would you correlate this part of the Sidur with what we read in the Chumash?
Wasn't that that God constantly has to be willing the universe to be?
All right, so that's the beginning part.
So, if God is compassionate enough to keep doing that instead of just
Okay, that's true. Now, where does he show compassion to the earth itself and compassion to the creatures?
What?
Well, I don't know. That on the surface doesn't sound like too much compassion.
After the flood,
Well, no, I'm saying even before. I'm talking about literally in the first 2 or 3 chapters of Bereshit. Be specific. What aspects of the creation we studied in the Chumash? Okay, that was helpful for us. That's even talking about all creatures. It's not even limited to humans. It's even animals. Where's the compassion in the animal kingdom?
We're not eating them.
We're not eating them. Okay, but we are eating them. All right.
Are we not eating them?
You may be vegetarian. You get that choice. Okay, but I'm just saying. But in the design, if you look at the first chapter of Bereshit, in the first chapter there, God is creating a biosphere where all the animals and creatures can exist. There's air, there's water, there's food. They're able to have reproduction. They're able to. The design of the universe is that the species can be sustained. Again, when would you normally think about this? Maybe if you're watching a Discovery Channel for about a minute and a half, you might have that awareness. Hey, that's kind of cool.
So when you're in a really beautiful place, it's just like
Right. So exactly. If you're on an exquisite vacation, go to a beautiful scenic vista, and you see on an aesthetic level the beauty of the of the whole scene. Then that awareness comes to mind. Okay, even better. Great. So, but it's not lasting. A and B. It requires something unusual in your environment to sort of like break through. Notice like a breaking through. Okay, so that's what the design of this composition. Blessed he who shows compassion to all creatures. That's part and compassion to the earth is pointing to. The part of the bria, part of the creation is that works harmoniously. There's an ecosystem that works, assuming that we don't mess it up. And that's part of what we're seeing God as. God as a creator and compassion to creatures. Then there's an abrupt shift. Who can show me an abrupt shift here in the text here?
He's talking about man.
Yeah. So then there's very good. Where does he see where does he talk about man?
He who gives a good reward.
Those are human.
Right. So that's obviously must be a human.
Mm-hmm.
All right, because a monkey is not capable of having fear of God. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So suddenly we now shift into our sphere, which is a human sphere.
Ask a question.
Yeah, please.
Why should we fear God?
That's the question. First of all, that's an excellent question. So when we say fear, we think of an imposing. We think of fear is the feelings of intimidation from a superior force, right? Now that does, in a certain sense, does describe God. If He is the creator of the universe, He has all the power. So on one level, that is true. But and there's a second level is that if, as the Torah does describe, there is an idea of reward and punishment. So there's reward and there's punishment. It's the second reason. But the third, that's a more first stage of fearing God. Fearing God really is a more best described as an awe of God, an awe of this of the source of nearly endless wisdom and justice. His management of the universe, the management of the world. So that's an awe-inspiring idea. If you think about it, or if you think about His wisdom compared to our wisdom, you automatically feel you sense the superiority of Him and the inferiority of yourself, and that's healthy. It's not a inferiority complex. Seeing yourself, and then where do you fit into the scheme of things?
So relative.
Yeah, relative to God. It's not a psychological. It's a psychologically healthy state. Not that you psychologically feel small. No, where do I feel in the hierarchy of reality? I see myself where I am. Relative to the Creator, what He knows and what I know, what He can do, what I can do.
So it's not for like fear, punishment.
There's a dimension of that, but that's really that's I'd say is a first level fear of God. This is there's a superior fear of God, or it's more of a fear. More best translated would be a awe of God, not because He's going to whack me, because I'm awed by his who He is.
Love him my life. That's what you pray for. Yeah.
That's the
Russian traffic in Yom Kippur.
there is that component there, right? But there is that component there. That's future. Right.
Is there something like that?
No.
I've never called that one.
No, we're
No,
talking about the sin.
I'm serious. There's something.
There's a sin of usury and charging interest.
Okay, fine.
So
There is something where you translate things like please charge.
No, you could do a sin by bilking customers. There are Jewish law applies to overcharging for staples. For let's say that's a whole other question. We're not getting into that.
I felt bad about that particular one when I used to work at the pawn shop, and actually my job is to charge people interest.
All right. Well, you're all right. That's all. Interest, charging interest is there's certain people you're allowed to charge interest to, and it's a whole conversation. All right. And then blessed is he who redeems and saves. What's that all about?
God redeems and saves people.
So where do we see that in Bereshit? Noah, but even before that.
What do you see?
Now, certainly by Lot, but even before that, even by Adam, Hashem was trying to help him in the garden. He was trying to, give him the animals to name. He's giving him an environment that he would have work, but not so difficult. He provided him a starting of a whole family and a civilization. He tried to help him, and then he didn't. He allowed him to facilitate his free will. Didn't work out so well, but and even afterwards, he gave him certain counter forces so he would not get lost in his fantasy. Also, one of them being a conscience. Right? We talked about that also last time. So
you can also take it as rebuilding the temple.
Well, that'd be the ultimate. Yes, that's the ultimate redemption. But in order we see when we're going to get to right before the Amidah, we refer to as blessed is God, Redeemer of Israel. That's one of his identities. We have God as Creator, God as sort of Father who's helping us out in the Gan, and we have God who's a Redeemer. These are all different expressions of how he relates to mankind. Okay? All right, so he's trying to help redeem the Tzelem Elohim. Let's turn to page 64. Let's keep on rock and rolling here.
Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, God, compassionate Father, extolled by the mouth of his people, praised and glorified by the tongue of his devoted ones and those who serve him. With the songs of your servant David, we will praise you, O Lord our God. With praises and psalms, we will magnify and praise you, glorify you. Speak your name and proclaim your kingship. Our King, our God, the only one, giver of life to the world, the King whose great name is praised and glorified to all eternity. Blessed are you, Lord, the King extolled with songs of praise.
Okay, so what's the main? God is referred to in what subject? What term? What description is he being given in this second half, and then the actual blessing part? King, Melech Olam. Like when we say a blessing, we always refer to God as King. Baruch atah Hashem Eloheinu Melech Olam, King of the universe. Always that's a constant refrain. What does that mean, King of the universe? Is he sitting on a throne and wearing a crown? He's not physical. So what sense is that a fair poetic description? Okay.
He said he oversees and
Our-
everything and is all knowing and
Well, is all knowing part of the kingship, or what we're
CEO.
CEO,
Universe.
CEO of the
I
universe.
always felt that analogy to talking and stuff like that.
What?
I always felt like the analogy of kings because I just see kings and like battles and I don't know, kings having this like aloofness. And,
Right. Well, right. So king is not. Well, king is king. By the way, no. I think you're bringing on to something. Notice how we call them both. Notice we say King of the universe, God, compassionate Father. So there's two dimensions here. Which one's warmer?
Father.
Father. Yeah, big time. King is much more as like king and his subjects. It's a much more aloof dimension.
There's no
Right. In other words, he is as he's running the show. He's running the universe. So all things are functioning based on his law, are moving to his law. We call those the laws of nature, okay, or the laws that gave the Torah for the Jews, or actually all mankind. So, so we call him Lord our God, King of the universe. Then we say God, who's compassionate Father. What's the difference? What's his manifestation of compassionate Father? We actually did that when we did that 2 classes ago, when we talked about the great love. He showed us great love. What was the expression of the great love? Also in a fatherly kind of way. Functioning in what role?
Oh, he was like literally teaching Adam, in the garden.
Oh, so he's right, but we're saying teaching Adam in the garden, teaching the Jewish people at Sinai and forever, give it, or the father who instructs. In other words, like imagine like the dad who's teaching his kid how to ride a bike and how to, not limit to the father, mother, and how to, write a composition, and whatever the teaching you the core ideas and life lessons that person needs. That's with that image. So therefore, that's now. Why is it called compassionate? Why is it described as compassionate?
because it's out of love. He's not a father doesn't necessarily gain from teaching his child. I mean, like, emotionally he does, but
Right.
there's nothing to be gained for that. He's not making money, he's not getting status, he's not, so it's compassionate that he's doing it.
Right? Because he's only doing it for the benefit of the nurturing the child.
Right.
Or
And it probably makes him feel good as he's doing it.
I understand that, but really, well, that's a distinction of that's, by the way, the mark of an average parent versus an exceptional parent. What's between an average parent? An average parent will only help the child in regard to as it gives the parent satisfaction. The compassionate parent will help the child even if it's emotionally difficult, even if it does not help them in any kind of satisfaction. It does not give them great satisfaction. Many children, I used to be a high school principal, so I would see for 10 years. So, it was your school, Yeshiva Day School. And often I'd have parents that wanted their I'm not even using my principal face. I got one. I'll show that.
What do we have to do to see the principal?
I did see it all. Getting back to the topic here. That's what we're going to talk when we go out for drinks. We'll talk about that. I'll get for this back to the issue of parenting. Is that I have situations, which are a little bit sad, is that I had type A personality parents. My child is going to the Ivy League school, Rabbi. It's a fact. Now, Junior over here, get into SUNY school, any of them was a stretch. Okay? We're talking Kaplan's, Princeton Review, round the clock tutoring, flashcards at breakfast. That kid's getting an Oneonta with a call from Rabbi Rosenthal. All right? Okay? That's what we're talking about. But the parent oblivious because they're looking at the child as to go to the school that they never got into.
It's their own issue. Right?
It's it. The child is crazy. Oh my gosh. The child is an extension of the parent, and in fact, the parent will only give love to the child in exchange for fulfilling the parent's agenda. Where the child does not, the parent withdraws the love. The kids feel that it's a very conditional love, very uncompassionate, and then you're actually hurting the child because they're forcing the child to do a curriculum or a program that they simply cannot, they're not designed to do, but they don't care because for their own status, they want to be able to say to their friends, my child goes to Columbia.
That's so true.
What, are your parents doing?
Of course.
So,
They also might think that they're doing it to think that
right now, in their own mind, in their own mind, they of course are convinced themselves that that's truly what the child is best for. Now, for some children, that is, but in many cases it was not, and they were in such denial about the reality of their children. It was rough. So that's called. So here we talk about God as a compassionate Father who is giving us education that was really helpful to us, and not simply as an exchange for some other material benefit of status specifically.
But is there ever a time when God was ever acting in any other way so that he could benefit from it? Like it doesn't seem like
Okay, that's a very good question.
it doesn't seem like that would ever be the situation in our relationship with God.
Right. So when we speak about God and we speak about in human terms, it's a metaphor for us to understand him. But we cannot benefit him. We can't do anything for God. For example, you would say, oh, he obviously has low self-esteem because we're constantly praising God. He needs to be pumped up. Oh God, you are God, the only one, giver of life and worlds. Blah 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 blah. It's what we're sharing here is that God was perfect prior to the existence of the universe, and if there is no universe, if that is ever going to be the reality, he will not be changed by that.
So whether we're good or not, God doesn't.
He's not affected. It's only for our benefit.
Doesn't he care?
He cares as far as a parent. It's for our benefit. The true parent will do something which the parent gets no satisfaction from, but it's the best thing for the child. That's the mark of the excellent parent. You know what I'm saying? In other words, you schlep the child to the doctor and let the child get the shot, even though the kid is screaming and embarrassing you in front of everybody, but you know the child desperately needs this medicine, and you don't care, even though it's all negative at that particular moment. Now, God makes kids cute for a reason. Okay? And the second crazy thing is that every parent, by the way, believes their child is in fact cute.
No, the cutest, right?
I don't know, the cutest, that's already stretching, but if you ever go to a mother who's pushing a stroller and say, your child is so cute. I never said, Rabbi, let's be honest. If you take 100 babies, I don't think my kid's hitting top 80 percentile. He looks a little more lizard-like. Never heard that. Never heard that. Ever what? To say, thank you, Rabbi. Yeah, they did. But that's part of God's design, biological reality that you have, because there is difficulty to raise your children. You all know, God willing, in the right time. And
we'll have those like children.
right, and so the part of it. Otherwise, we leave the kid out in the front lawn because it's just so you not be able to deal. But they're cute for a reason. But the ideal thing is to get to the level of maturity that you're giving the kid what the kid really deserves. Yes, but.
I have a question, but my wife asked me, I guess, one of our friends had a kid. His picture of the baby said, his baby's cute. I said, I don't know. She's like, well, you can tell it's a cute baby or not. I said, it doesn't look like a dog. I don't know.
Right. Right. There are cute babies, you know what I mean? Like the ones in ads. Those are cute babies. You know what I mean?
If it ain't a dog, I don't know.
So,
You should keep that to yourself.
yeah.
My wife knows this.
I want to share some. I want to share a principle. I want to share. I want to take a slight excursion about their in Judaism. We believe in. I just want to share one little concept. We believe in lying for peace.
Yes.
Truth is a value, but peace is a greater value. So therefore, if somebody asks you, What do you think about this baby, Justin? There's only one answer. Amazing.
Oh, of course.
Gorgeous.
I'm gonna sit there and be like, this is one ugly baby.
Right.
What did they say?
Right.
In fact, I tell my friends, I'm impressed that your child is cute, seeing you are innocent.
Right. Yeah. Whatever.
That's just my question.
Anyways. All right. We got a little. All right, so that's the idea of compassionate father. Okay. Okay. Let's keep on going. Extolled by the mouth of his people, praised and glorified by the tongue of his devoted ones. What's in between his people and the tongues of his and the devoted ones and those who serve him?
Well, a lot of his people don't serve him and they're not promoted.
Well, they're not. Then they're not saying
There's like
praise. They're not saying praise at all. Those people are not even
No,
praising
but
God at all.
there's a distinction between those people.
Correct. There seems to be a hierarchy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's the mouth of that's one level of people. Then there's the tongue of the devoted ones, which in the Hebrew word is Lashon Chasidav, Avadav. Chasidav would be, instead of devoted ones, I'd say perfected ones. And Avadav are his servants. All right, so there's three levels. So, in other words, praise, let's define another term. What is the definition of praise? I may have mentioned it, but I don't even remember.
No.
Well, it's praise. You go on a date, and the guy praises the girl's outfit. What is he doing?
Giving compliment.
What's a compliment?
Saying
Butter her up.
positive.
What's any positive statement? I like Obamacare.
Saying something positive about the person.
Okay.
But it's supposed to be genuine.
You look
Well, wait a second.
beautiful in that dress.
I know, but what is it? How do you know it's a praise? You guys are not defining the term here. What is praise? That might be an excellent praise.
Recognizing,
Yeah.
like virtue, positive virtue.
I would say recognizing the excellence in something. So praise is recognizing the excellence in something.
And verbalizing it.
Well, all right. So, correct. Expressing the excellence in something. Now, that's why what's a better praise is when a person is specific about, saying, oh, you look nice. Okay. It's a generic. Versus identifying, I want to share with you, I want to share with you, and I'm not one who knows, but I noticed the fact how your dress and your shoes and your accessories all come together is very impressive.
Well, you're supposed to say you look nice in that dress,
Right, not the dress is
It's like, okay, it could be nice on the hanger, but it's like on me.
That's true. That's true.
Right.
That's
He's writing this. Hold on. Slow down there. 1 second. Let me get all this down. Right. Right. I knew that was a problem.
You look nice.
That dress is nice on
emphasis
you.
on the you.
Right.
That dress is nice.
Right. All right. So the bottom line is, in other words, what they're saying is not to say an excellence in the excellence of the dress, because that's not giving the woman the satisfaction. You're saying you look amazing in that outfit.
That work for shoes too? Those shoes are nice on you.
It's a little weird.
Now, it's a little weird if you're going right to the shoes, because that's because it's a second. No. Larry, that's a secondary praise. Well, no, let me define this secondary, because you're not going to that's a secondary outfit. That's like, you know what I mean?
Why are you looking at a feet and not a face?
Right. Or else you want to be careful, like, do not too weird, you know?
I was blinded by her reading on
But
it.
it's recognizing the source that's around the source, it's not just the thing. It's like you're.
Well, so if you're
Actually, the compliment's kind of a good analogy.
so praising is expressing the excellence in the object, whatever you praise for. So if you're talking to a woman, obviously the essence is the woman, and the fact that she looks excellent in this outfit. You can bring that as a secondary. You can bring that as a secondary one. You bring it up later. Right. Not first. That's not creepy. Yeah, it's all weird.
Oh no! Don't do that.
Really?
I like your.
Not as your first thing, because you're going to a small accidental feature of the person. Secondary, tertiary feature. That means really that's a comment. Is really a what? It's really a praise, which is really a slap, because you're saying in the category number one, which would be the outfit, you're saying by going to the third level item means that you are saying in thing 1 and thing 2, but those shoes.
Right, you're not interesting or pleasant to talk to, but
Right.
I'm really nice in that out.
Right. Now don't leave with a shoe. Way bad. Way bad. Anyways, but
Oh,
I brought that up. All right. I brought that up because we see that based upon the level of knowledge, in other words, there's one thing a regular guy, I mean, let's put a hierarchy to this. I think the complimenting the woman in an outfit is a good example. The lowest level would be a guy who sort of like grunts and, has really no sophistication and just says, yeah, you look nice. Then there's a girl giving comment to another girl who has a knowledge about exactly, and then they'll say why it's very slimming, it really acts your eyes, shoes. It's just coming all together. I'm just loving this all. Then the third level will be a person whose profession is, let's say, like for example, if Donna, Duran, she said that she is says, I said you look amazing. That's like objective endorsement. So therefore, by analogy in the Baruch Sha'amar, obviously, notice how I did that. Bing. Extol, so you notice that extolled by the mouth of his people is level 1, praise and glorify the tongue of his devoted ones, but I want to say perfected ones, and those are serpent. So that's really 3 levels of, based upon their knowledge of God, can they articulate praise of God? Do you see that point? So we're still on page 64.
but they're kind of out of order. Like, right,
The Hebrew one, the Hebrew is, the translation is a little off.
Okay.
So I'm trying to compensate a little bit. Because the nation is everybody with one level, part of their tradition. It's one level of understanding. And then there's Hasidav Abadav, like for example, Moshe was called Eved Hashem, the servant of God. That's like the highest appellation you can get. Hasidav is a perfected person. That's up there. It's big stuff. So it's like a hierarchy up. Then we bring something in, which I wanted to make sure I got to today, which is the Shirei David Avdecha, and the songs of your servant David. The Baruch Sha'amar, and most of the Siddur is coming from what book in the Bible? Of the 24 books of the Bible, what is the one book that's going to find the most outtakes from that book into the Siddur? I'm going to give you a hint, written by David, King David. Psalms. Hebrew Psalms is? Tehillim. Okay, very important. So what we're going to do is going to be next verses are going to be using, co-opting David's verses of Psalms because he was outstanding in that area. Now, interesting, what was his role also? What was his job? For 40 years. What was his job? What was King David's job? What was David's job for 40 years? No, he was not allowed to build a Sunday. Pretty much like it says, that's the Chronicles. He consolidated the Jewish people the first 7 years of his kingship, and then for the last 33 years, he was a king of Israel. But you see that so interesting idea of a king. On one hand, he's running the government, in charge of the wars, but it's also, what is a king in Judaism? CEO, Chief Educational Officer. So he wrote a curriculum. Part of his songs, part of his poetry, he gave as part of his teaching the people how to think about God and to express themselves about God. You know what I'm saying? We don't have that idea. When we mention about kings, we think of like, King Richard, from the medieval times of these basically, Viking barbarian dudes who were just, tyrants fighting for power. We have an idea in Judaism that is not the ideal at all. David is the ideal. He's running the government, running the people, but he's also teaching people by his Torah, by the Psalms that he wrote. And that's why we're just going to say his Psalms because he said it best. Part of his educational mission to the people. Do you understand that? Because in America we have a executive branch, we have a judicial branch, and we have a legislative branch. Okay? In Judaism we also have as well. We have a sovereignty, which is like the executive branch. We have a judicial, which is the Sanhedrin, and we also have the prophet. Also plays another role. And there's checks and balances. Who can do what? Sometimes you need all three for certain things. going to war, you need the okay of all three. So, but the king is also involved in the education of people, which is something we don't have at all in our society. It doesn't exist. So we're saying the Psalms of David because it's part of his education of the people, his vision of praising God. Okay. With the songs of your servant David, we'll praise you, O Lord, O God. And then we go through with praise and psalms. We will magnify and praise you, glorify you, speak your name, and proclaim your kingship. What does it mean to proclaim kingship? That's a very important point. We say by the Shema, the part of Shema is accepting the yoke of heaven, of all Malchut Shemayim, the kingship of heaven. What does that mean? What does it mean to accept the kingship of heaven?
Like acknowledging that Hashem is kind of running the show.
He's running the world. And he's running the world, but he runs the world specifically in a lawful manner.
Yeah.
Laws of nature and the laws of the Torah. Okay? That's basically his mechanism. So that's accepting it. Now, do we want to accept that? Do we want to accept his kingship? Go back to our story in Bereshit. Adam and Eve, Adam and Chava. What do they want to believe?
That they can eat from the tree and
We're kings. We want to live in our own world. Well, we're the boss. Where I can eat whatever I want and I don't get fat. I could use my credit card as much as I want and I won't get broke. I could show up to work as late as possible and I won't lose my job. That's the world I want. I want to live in the world with my own, I have a teenager that says, I like my own rules, before I ground the job. So, but there's part of the idea that you want to live, a person wants to live in their own world versus that I live in his world and therefore I have to accept certain, limitations. And that's not a comfortable truth that I want to accept. It's a reality. Everything is governed by law. And you can either accept it or not. If you accept it, you'll be successful. If you don't, generally you will not be. If you speak to people in a certain way, there's an intelligent way of speaking to people, and there's an unintelligent way of speaking to people. There's intelligent ways of governing a relationship, and there's poor, immature ways of running a relationship. Everything has governed by Hashem's law. That's it. So we don't want to accept that. We want to be as we go back to what we said in the beginning, we want in the state of shikha, of forgetting that. We want to live in our own world. And we're going to slip back into that. But this is sort of like a little point, a little awareness, a little moments of maturity. The city is trying to have moments of maturity, if I would have to say it another way. Is that coming together a little bit? Okay. Bless you, Lord, the King extolled with songs of praise. So again, why do we have to do so many songs of praise?
Seems like too many.
Seems like too many. Good point.
Because I guess it's easy to forget, and to forget kind of your place versus the place of God. So the more you do it, it's like a repetition.
Let me make a perfect analogy. How often does a person who is an alcoholic have to go to AA meetings?
All the time.
multiple times.
Yeah, why? They know they're already alcoholic. They already said, "Hi, I'm Penny Rosenthal, and I'm an alcoholic." Right. So because they have an obsessive compulsion to alcohol or drugs, whatever the obsession is, and we all people post Adam and Eve are in an obsessive compulsive way to believe our own sovereignty. We're obsessively status seeking. That is our nature. And unless we constantly focus out of that, we're going to slip back into that whole state. You know what I mean? You're driving a Mustang, but I'm driving a Lexus. You're driving a Lexus, I'm driving a Mercedes. You're driving a Mercedes, I'm driving a Lamborghini. Okay? Everybody, everybody's in the rat race trying to one up the other person. You know what I'm saying? So that's really the thing. So therefore, just by analogy, just as the AA guy has to go sometimes multiple times a day, we have to engage in Tefillah multiple times a day because we're going to slip into being believers in our own self-sufficiency, our own superiority, our own kingship, and deny the reality which is obvious if we think about it. That's basically what the Siddur is doing. That's basically why we daven. That's why do we daven so much? Now, Ali, I agree with you. Sometimes it's too much because I can't. It's too much to handle, and I got. Sometimes less is more. Okay, specific. I agree with it also. But you see what there's a tension here. You want to have, even if you go to shul, shafars in the morning, it's 30 minutes, not 3 hours. You know what I'm saying? Shabbos can get dragged out a little bit, but it doesn't have to be that way. But you know what I'm saying? There's enough moments of mature recognition to color to see the world in a certain lens. Yes, Larry.
So there's obviously devout observant Jews that are not good people.
Yes.
How do you explain that?
So this is, in other words, all the 613 mitzvahs are being perceived as 613 therapeutic tools. But as you know, there are people in therapy doesn't break through their defenses, or breaks through defenses in some areas, and some areas they are redeemed, in some areas they're not redeemed. That's a simple answer. There's no Judaism is an opportunity. There's no person can use it to become a better person, but just going through just the opposite. It can be worse sometimes. There's a thing called religious narcissism. You might think that since you're doing these particular mitzvos, I'm better than you, holier than thou. I keep Shabbos, you don't. Right? So that means, so basically it's just a tool of ego. So it's hijacking the Judaism to shove it in the guy's face. So not nice. No, you don't like that, right? Right. So I agree with you. You know what I'm saying? So it's not becoming more mature and developed is not a simple thing. And Freud said it best, which Judaism fully endorses, is every man's a genius when it comes to self-deception.
Self-perception.
Self-deception.
Self-perception.
Right. So that's the deal here. So the davening and the siddur and the davening is a tool, but it's not. Person has a block in an area, they have a block in an area. That's it. First of all, you have to know what the siddur is and what the tefillah is supposed to do, and what the ideas that are being expressed, and to think about them, and to change the thinking. It's not so simple. I mean, part of the how many times, for example, a person gets off the phone, slams the door on things, says, they got in a fight with their parents. And they promise themselves, before they got on the phone, I am not going to have the exact same fight I've had 5,323 times. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to have this fight. It's not going to happen. And lo and behold, the triggers occur. Boom, boom, boom. You're yelling. And you know, bam, right? And then you feel that sense of disappointing yourself. Like, how did I fall in it again? Not so simple. That's why the word compassion, Rahmanis, is an important thing. God gives people not second chances, 15,000 chances. You know what I'm saying? But every a little bit, every day a little bit, a little bit. That's it. Step by step. That's the deal. So that is the essential idea of the Baruch Shamar. We're getting sort of the kingly advice of Solomon, of David, and we're going to read the Ashrei being the most famous one, Psalm 145, and then we'll see it's all coming from the book of Psalms. But he crafted it really to educate his people, and by extension, us. And the reason why we have all this stuff, not that God has a low self-esteem, we have to praise him, is that we have to see that as being the reality. Seeing there's a world, and it's governed by his law, and I kind of want to be my own master. I don't want him to have to accept that reality, but reality is I am in his world. I can be unsuccessful in his world. That is an option. And that's the basic idea. And that's what Tefillah that's why Tefillah is a daily experience. And that's why we have all these, the Sukkah Zimra is sort of like gearing up for the blessings of the Shema and the then the main event, the Amidah. All right, because you need a little runway. You just can't be getting in there. Got to warm up. That's the basic structure. We'll fill in the gaps. But I want to show you. But you see how it's really emerging from the first, second, and third chapters of Bereshit. You see the Tanach on one side, and as an emanation of these fundamental challenges and dynamics, is being expressed in the Siddur. I want you to see that as being a continuum. Okay, because the Siddur, all it is going to be reworking from ideas which is in the Tanakh. That's our foundational core of our philosophies in the Tanakh. Okay, and in the Siddur, of course, expressing it, in another way. So that's the basic deal. Any questions? We got 2 minutes.
So most of the Siddur is from the Tehillim.
Most of the, let's say, the Psukei Zimra is from the Tehillim, and excerpts are found in all the blessings are from Tehillim. They're little like they. In other words, we'll see that when the Ezra and his great court put together some of the fixed text, and before that, by the way, there was no fixed text. You have to write your own davening every day. Full daunting task. Okay, but by that point you were a master in Tanakh. You do it yourself. It'll be pretty short.
When did that happen?
That happened roughly 400 years before the Common Era. 400, 500. During that time. And they did the Amidah. They did some of the basic blessings like Kiddush, Havdalah, the blessing before Shema. And then there's some others that were written subsequently from that. Okay, into Talmudic times. So that's the basic deal. Okay, we'll last question. Good. All right, is that clear? All right. Okay, good. We're getting there.
Yay.